Hey guys, welcome to another episode of our Jefe's Chop Shop. This week we're back on the Minimog. We're going to get these pedals under control. Alright, I'm back working on the toyways. I spent a fair bit of time last night and today thinking about how I'm going to do the pedals. So, do you remember this? No? That is a 98 high ace middle sliding door roller. So I've used that as an accelerator pedal, and then I've made two little brackets to bolt to the floor, and it pretty much pivots perfectly, and it's right where you want it. So I was trying to keep everything over as far as I could. The plan from now is to go a rod off the back of this down into the massive amount of space I have underneath the floor, and then I'll do some let's call it magic down there, and I'll try and work out that at a later date. So now what I'm going to do is I've got a pedal which I just showed you off of this is an IS200 or IS300 brake pedal. So I've taken it out of the main housing, and the plan is going to be something like that, and then I'm going to have to cut this the actual pedal section and move it around so it faces the right way, something like that, and then I'll do a master underneath. Probably no booster, but we'll do a master at the very least, obviously. So to do that, I want to do the steering first so we know what we're missing, because that's going to be pretty crucial, whereas the brake pedal has a bit of leeway. So I'm going to try and get the steering column in the right spot. I have made a bit of it, so I'm going to try and do that first, and then I'll try and do the brake pedal once I've got the steering hooked up. And hopefully we've got room for everything, because my foot pretty much fits here, and I'm pretty sure that the steering column comes off on an angle, so there's not a lot of room. But that's the accelerator pedal that I didn't film, so hopefully that makes a whole lot of sense to you guys. The other thing I need to look into is the shifter. So the way that it works, the cable wants to go forwards, so that's a HQ, or I believe HQ Turbo 400 shifter. So the way that that wants to work is the shifter cable will go forwards, as it probably would in a HQ, forwards to the transmission. In this case, the transmission is about here, so I need to do some kind of big loop, again probably in this massive amount of area that I've got here. So hopefully I can come through this floor with the shifter cable, do a big nice loop and go back that way to the trans. But that's going to be really quite fiddly. Whether I can find a cable that long is another question. So that's another problem for later, and it only just fits in here as well. So get the steering wheel, then I'll try and get this brake pedal sort of nutted out, make sure there's enough room, and then I'm going to try and work out on the shifter, try and get some space for that to sit as well. It's a thing that I am struggling with, but we'll get there. Alright, I've been doing a horrible job of filming lately. I've just been doing a couple of hours here and there, and then a lot of thinking for all the mechanisms and stuff is quite difficult to film and then also think and like trying to convey what I'm thinking. So now that I've done it, I'm just going to show you. So I've got the brake pedal and the accelerator in place, I've got the shifter in place, I've got the steering in place. Alright, so steering, let's address this first because it looks horrible. This needs to be a bit shorter, which I am aware of because it's actually quite in your teeth. Then I'd like to try and make this a bit shorter so that the knuckles are a bit nicer angle, and I also like to make the bottom one a bit shorter to try and get everything a bit less angry. It does work as it is, but whether or not it's any good or if it's got like phasing or whatever, I don't really understand U-joints. So I'll sort that out at a later date. I just thought I'd address that first. I do need to do a bottom mount because it's currently real flobbly, so I'll just go down to here or something. So then onto the accelerator, we've got a 90s high ace sliding door hinge, so the middle hinge. Made a bit of a fancy bracket, so these two are on different angles, so that was kind of the only way I could do it. But that works really well, and it does fold nice and flat against the floor. So we've got a fair bit of movement there. I'm factoring for about 50 mil of movement at the very end here, so it'll be not a whole lot here, but should be good. So I'm going to pull this out in just a second, but for now, that's what we've got. The brake pedal, we've got the IS300 brake pedal. So what I've done is cut this off of the original because it's actually upside down, and then I have cut the pedal back a little bit to get this all on a better angle. And then down the bottom, which is a bit awkward to show you. We've got a piece of RHS down here, nice and thick. Currently just G-clamped to the chassis rail with a bolt through it, and it's got all the hinge and everything, so I'm going to have to do a brake light switch and all that sort of stuff still. But for now, that works pretty good. Also got a fair bit of movement. I need to make a master cylinder mount as well for that, because there's obviously a few things missing. But then also when I fix this steering, I'm hoping that it will get the shaft out of the way of the brake pedal. But that's pretty good, and it's currently just got a spring on it to simulate. Then the shifter, so it's got one screw in it at the back, so it's currently in low. So then this is a HQ Turbo 400 shifter, so then just move it forwards as you would a normal car, and park is really close to here, but I'd like to put a little extension on it down the road anyway. I need to make some kind of bracket off the front of here and go down to the floor, or possibly maybe a triangle bracket, something like that. I haven't got there yet, and I haven't got material to do it, so I'm just going to leave that for now, but it's in a place that I can use it, so that's a good start. So that's all the controls on the inside, let's say done. It's not done, but it's all in the right spot. So now I need to work on the accelerator pedal, actually getting to the accelerator cable, so I'm going to have to do a bit of a linkage for that. I have to work on a master cylinder mount for the pedal, and then I have to work on the steering and work on the shifter and a big long cable and all that sort of stuff. And the handbrake as well has to have one cable out the front. I'm going to rip the accelerator pedal out and try and make the linkage for that to get to the cable. Alright, a bit more lack of filming later, but a bolt welded to the top of the accelerator pedal, and then that goes to a linkage which goes down underneath the floor. So to take this spring out, I'll go around the other side and I'll show you how it all works. So I've got the top of the accelerator pedal up there, got this rod that comes down, and then we've got another pivot here into a little like lever arm thing. So as the accelerator pedal comes down, which means that top rod comes down, it moves where my hand is further forwards, which will pull on the accelerator cable coming this way. So then when the accelerator goes back up, cable returns, and then as you put your foot down again, it moves about 50 mil and pulls that cable. So obviously that's really hard to see, and it's going to be really hard to show, but that's how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to attach this just yet. I need to make room for a master cylinder right here, because the bolt for the pedal is right there where my finger is. So the master cylinder is going to go just here and then come back this way. So maybe you have to do a remote reservoir, and then try and get all that to work as well. As for the steering, I'd like this to be shorter, so then that means I can't really attach to this pipe here, so this is all going to be as short as possible. So probably lose like 2 inches here, and then try and make a bracket off of there going that way, and then also hold the master cylinder, maybe join to the chassis. So it's a pretty tight, awkward little thing. So I think I'm going to have to get a master cylinder before I can go much further, and then also a throttle cable to try and send back there towards the engine. Slightly different angle. I realised I can put my hand in the headlight hole and operate the throttle. So if I go up with the throttle pedal and down with the throttle pedal, you can see that bottom linkage here. This moves back and forwards, and hopefully that'll pull and push the cable. Obviously there's a lot of flex and everything, but that's the idea. Alright, I did a bit of digging and I found an IS300 master cylinder. So I've taken the rod out of here just for now. This master cylinder isn't a remote res like I was hoping for, but it is dual circuit and it is pretty big. So I'm hoping I can maybe make this sit in here like this, and it's pretty much going to be bang in line with the grill, and it's going to be kind of hard to fill it up, but I think it should work. So I need to make a mount for this somehow, and also make a mount for that accelerator linkage, and then also leave enough room for the steering. So that's going to be pretty tricky. I'm just going to leave it for now. I've got to go to work in about an hour, but I think I'll have a think and sit here and just sort of ponder my existence, and then I'll come up with something and build it tomorrow. So I've got a bit of a bracket going on here. These two holes here will emulate the 2 pins on the booster, and then also line up with the master obviously. So I need to cut out a big U shape for the front of this guy. So I'm going to have to do that and then bolt it in, and then this will join in between the steering on this side, and the accelerator and stuff on this side. So it's going to be pretty awkward, and I'm going to have to probably take a wheel off and get in there and get in from the back. So, alright, so I've done the tray, which we'll see in a later video. I've got this master cylinder bracket all cut up. So I've done that U section, cut that out, put some bolts through it. So this is going to go behind the wheel, which I'll also show you in another episode. So it goes up in here, and this is going to fit in here something. So this is going to fit in here, something like that. And then I need to make everything else bolt to this. So there's going to be a lot of thinking with this one, and a lot of little brackets and stuff coming off of it, but that's the idea. So that's going to go a pin from here into the front of the master there, and then this will sit just behind the grill. So it's going to be really awkward, but now with the wheel off, it should be a lot easier. As for the shifter, I've gotten rid of the Turbo 400 HQ one. Well, I haven't, it's in here. So it's down there, but it's very long. So I've changed to this Trimatic HQ shifter, bought a new top for it, and this guy is a whole lot shorter, and apparently the throw on the linkage is actually the same. Just in a HQ, it doesn't actually clear the floor. So this one goes through the floor and beside the gearbox, whereas with the HQ Turbo 400, it has to go across the floor and not down through the floor, because it'll hit the gearbox. So in my application, this one works. In a HQ, it wouldn't, but works for me. So I've made this little bracket here. So the idea is going to be that's going to attach to there, a few bolts in the corners, and then it will be sitting just in front of this seat, nice and proud up here. All right, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the Minimog content. There'll be some more soon. Catch you next week.